A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I want A plus English, 'cause it's so much fun. English education for you and everyone, so come along. Learn some grammar, learn a phrase, learn something new every day. Learn the A plus way. Hey, it's time to start the show. Are you ready? Good, 'cause here we go. A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I want A plus English.
Hello everyone, welcome to A Plus English. I'm Mike.
I'm Chickling.
And today we are back. And they are back. Evelyn and Ethan, the two characters from yesterday's dialogue, are back, and so are we. And we are still learning about lunar eclipses. We discovered, along with Evelyn and Ethan, that on March 14th of this year, there will be a lunar eclipse, and we are hoping to be able to see it from Taiwan, because sometimes, right, the eclipses only happen in other parts of the world.
Right.
So you have to be in South America or in Australia or whatever. Or, of course, the weather can always go against you. You might have a wonderful lunar eclipse going on overhead, but if it's a cloudy day or a cloudy night, you can't really see it. So we are hoping that this will be possible. But let's talk about the moon in general. What are some famous stories about the moon?
Actually, the one that just popped into my head is just, have you ever heard any Chinese stories about the moon? Chang'e, do you know who that is?
I know who Chang'e is, yes.
Yeah, so she flied up to the moon after taking some pills.
She flew up to the moon, that's right.
Sorry.
And doesn't she have a friend up there with her?
Rabbit.
A little rabbit.
Maybe two friends.
Exactly.
There's this other guy that cuts the trees or whatever.
There's a guy who cuts the trees on the moon? He did a very good job. There are no trees on the moon. So well done to that guy. Okay, that's a good story. I like the story about the astronaut who played golf on the moon.
Oh, really?
Yes, there was an astronaut. He was he liked to play golf.
It rings a bell now, yes.
Yes, and he took up I think it was actually a tool to like pick up rocks, but he got some of the scientists at NASA to change it so he could put a golf club, and he brought a ball, and he hit the ball with one. And of course, there's no gravity, or very little gravity on the moon, so the golf ball went really, really far. I just like the idea that sometime in the future, someone's going to be walking around on the moon and go, there's a golf ball here.
Oh my goodness.
And if they didn't know that story, they would be very, very confused. All right, so let's get to our dialogue and find out what Ethan and Evelyn are doing today with their lunar eclipse.
Evelyn and Ethan learn about lunar eclipses. Warm-up question. What are some famous stories about the moon?
Lunar eclipses happen about twice a year. Some years have none, one, or even a maximum of 5. However, only 29% of lunar eclipses are total lunar eclipses. A lunar eclipse can last up to 2 hours.
All right, so we're talking about lunar eclipses yesterday. Remember, that is when the sun has the Earth in between it and the moon. So the Earth is blocking the light from the sun from hitting the moon. Now, of course, eclipses don't happen every day, and they are still fairly rare, but a solar eclipse, when the moon blocks the Earth from the sun and we get that famous ring of fire, that is much more unusual. That happens very rarely. But lunar eclipses, because, the moon goes around the Earth, once a month, right? So that happens more frequently. Of course, the Earth only goes around the sun once a year. So having it all line up is much less likely. As the article tells us, lunar eclipses happen about twice a year. So about 2 times a year, somewhere on Earth, people will be able to see a lunar eclipse. Of course, not in the same place. It says some years have none, 1, or even a maximum of 5. So it all kind of depends. Everything in space, of course, is whizzing and spinning around at very, very high speed. So to have all these things kind of line up is pretty unusual, but it can happen up to 5 times a year. So that would be an average. If you like take 100 years and count how many lunar eclipses, it's about 2 a year.
所以月食呢，其实大约每年发生2次，有些年份可能完全没有，但是有些年份只有1次，甚至最多可达5次。因为地球 you're saying that our Earth goes around the moon once a month. Right?
The moon goes around the Earth.
The moon goes around the Earth once a month. 所以是月亮绕地球是1个月1次嘛，所以它肯定几率是比这个太阳月食还要来得高，日食还要来得高的。
Yeah, so I think it's like 28, 29 days or something like that, about a month. So, back to the article, we learned that, however, only 29%, or about 3 out of 10, of lunar eclipses are total lunar eclipses. So that is only when the Earth completely blocks the light from the sun from hitting the moon. Sometimes it's just half, right? It'll go over half and then it'll kind of come back a little bit. So only about 3 out of 10, or around 29, 30%, are total lunar eclipses, which of course are the most spectacular, the most amazing. And it says a lunar eclipse, this is probably a full eclipse, can last up to 2 hours.
Okay.
That's about how long it will take the Earth to sort of move through the sun, and the shadow of the sun will be, or shadow of the Earth will be on the moon.
OK， 所以呢，其实只有29% 的月食是全月食哦，有时候只遮一半嘛，有时候只遮一点点，所以一次的月食可以持续长达2个小时。So you have enough time to actually film it.
You could have enough time to film it.
But probably you like on camera you wouldn't see it so clearly.
Well, you'd have to set your camera up carefully, I think, so that it gets enough light over a long period of time. But that would be a very interesting shot if you got everything to work. Here's a question for you. Why do you think only 29% of lunar eclipses are total eclipses?
Because as we talked about, total lunar eclipses are less common because the moon's orbit doesn't always align perfectly with Earth's shadow.
Wow, you're so smart.
Yeah, because I actually did some research before this.
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah,
okay.
just in case I know how to talk about this, you know?
Good for you. It's always interesting to learn about, because we do see this stuff on the news.
Right.
And sometimes they don't always explain what's happening. So yeah, it's always a good thing to know about. All right, we're going to take a quick break.
The moon usually appears red during a total lunar eclipse. This is because Earth's atmosphere scatters other colors of light. So only red light passes through the atmosphere and shows up on the moon. Dust and clouds in Earth's atmosphere can also affect how the moon looks. They make the moon appear different colors during an eclipse. These colors are usually yellow, orange, or brown.
所以为什么月全食比较罕见呢？因为月球的轨道它没有总是跟地球的阴影对齐，所以就是为什么会这样子。
Yes, absolutely. Now let's talk about what you would actually see if you're lucky enough to be there for the total lunar eclipse with no clouds in the way and nothing to sort of get away from enjoying this amazing experience. It says the moon usually appears red during a total lunar eclipse. Now that obviously is also very unusual and very, very cool.
But still, it's kind of scary for me.
It is a little scary. I think animals get very confused.
Right. Like, imagine my corgis. I just feel like they would feel like I'm going to turn into, I feel like I'm going to turn into a monster.
Yeah, they might suddenly start to think it's nighttime and it's, or it's daytime, or who knows what's going on. The animals get, very upset by this. Sometimes we often hear of zoo animals kind of running around in their cages and, screaming and shrieking because they don't know what's going on. Why does the moon turn red? Well, maybe some of you don't know why this is happening. It says this is because Earth's atmosphere scatters other colors of light. So only red light passes through the atmosphere and shows up on the moon.
Okay.
So it's kind of like that rainbow effect, right? When we split light, we get all those different colors of the rainbow. It kind of blocks out all of the other colors, and just the red light comes through. That's why it looks red.
原来是这样子。因为月全食的时候，有时候月亮看起来它会有一点红色，那就是因为地球的大气层 atmosphere， 我们叫大气层，它会散射其他颜色的光，所以其实只有红光可以穿过大气层投射到月亮上。
All right, so here's another question for you. How do you think the moon's red color during a total lunar eclipse affects people's view of it?
I just think it's freaking scary for me.
It could be pretty scary, especially if you don't know that it's just a natural thing and everything will be normal soon.
It just looks mysterious to me.
That's true. And they have a scary name for it too, don't they?
血月 blood
Yes,
moon.
a blood moon. That doesn't make it any less scary.
No.
That kind of makes it more scary. And yes, of course, a long time ago, people used to see these eclipses. They didn't know it was just a natural thing happening in space. They thought it was the sign of terrible disaster coming. You know, if something terrible would happen, like the king would die the next day, everyone would be like, oh, it's because of the moon and all of that kind of stuff. But of course, today we understand it's not dangerous. It's not scary. It's just space doing what space does.
Yeah.
And it helps us to enjoy it because it is so unusual and so incredible. A wonderful time for photographers and other people like that to get out.
真的，所以红色其实呢，虽然红色月亮看起来很诡异，可是大家其实会称它叫做血月。不过其实这个颜色其实也蛮漂亮的啦。It could be beautiful in some way.
It can definitely be beautiful. Absolutely. And then we also read, this is interesting, dust and clouds in Earth's atmosphere can also affect how the moon looks. So, of course, the weather can get in the way, but even some dust and clouds in the atmosphere, you might still be able to see the moon, but it might look different. It might be a different color or things like that. That's because of stuff that's happening closer to us up in the sky in our atmosphere.
我们地球的大气层会有 dust 就是灰尘 clouds 就是云层，它们也会影响月亮的颜色，不只有我们刚刚讲的一些因素。
Yeah, so every lunar eclipse would probably be different depending on where you are and what the weather's like, what is in the atmosphere. It says this is the dust and the clouds we see up there. They make the moon appear different colors during an eclipse. These colors are usually yellow, orange, or brown.
Oh,
no
真的
green.
No green. Yeah,
No
I was going to
green.
say that.
No
I was
green,
gonna, but it's
no.
okay if someone is colorblind.
The moon's made of green cheese anyways, right? We know that.
Oh, really?
No.
Oh, okay.
People used to say that.
OK， 所以呢，其实月亮呢，我们因为会有一些因素嘛，像我们刚刚天气啦、灰尘啦、blah blah blah 之类的，它会使月亮在月食的时候有不同的颜色，通常是黄色、橙色或者是棕色，大部分是这几种颜色吧。第一个单字今天要看的是 none， 它就是完全没有的意思。那我们常会用一个片语叫做 none the wiser， 它就是有还是不明白的意思，而且通常是人家已经跟你讲发生什么状况，你还是听不懂，你就可以说 none the wiser 这一个片语。比如说 even after hearing the explanation, he was none the wiser about how the system worked. 人家跟他说要干嘛，结果他也是不知道的感觉。那我们看另外一个句子 None of the students 这边指的是没有一个学生 So none of the students understood this math question So the teacher explained it again 因为没有学生可以理解这个数学题目所以老师又讲了一次那我们今天看到另外一个单字这边是名词 maximum 它是最大值的意思我们通常会说如果你要做一件事情做到最极限我们就可以说的 push something to the maximum 比如说 she pushed her endurance to the maximum during the marathon 那再看另外一个句子我们这边指的是最多的时间你不能超过这个时间 The maximum time for this test is 1 hour you can't get extra time 所以你考试的时候你只可以写1个小时那超过你就不行了就不能再多的意思那我们有看到 light 这边是光线的意思它是名词我们常常在家里开灯关灯就是 turn on the light turn off the light 比如说 he turned on the light to read his book in the dark room 或者是我们指的自然光阳光就是 sunlight moonlight 我们今天都在讲月亮那我们就 moonlight 就是月光嘛那我们看另外一个例句 There is not enough light in the room. Can you turn on the lamp? 房间里面有点光线不足，你可不可以开一下台灯呢？那最后我们看到 affect 这一个动词，它是影响的意思。我们常常会说，你去影响到某一个人的感情或感受，我们也可以用这一个字 to affect someone emotionally。比如说 The movie deeply affected her and she couldn't stop crying. 那我们看另外一个例句 Lisa's poor exam score didn't affect her. She went home directly to study more. Lisa 她考试考得很不好，但她并没有因此被影响，她直接回家继续的念书。那我们在 Magic Box 看到的 show up 就是出现。那出现它其实意思蛮多，有时候指显现也可以。它的三态是 show, showed, shone。那通常是指事物变得清晰可见或者是明显。那比如说你只要今天电灯打开，你看到你地毯上面有污渍，然后就看到它了，我们也可以用这一个字 show up。比如说 The stain on the carpet showed up once the lights were on。或者是 up to 我们另外看到它就是达到的意思，这些都是蛮重要的片语，大家不要忘记练习。Okay, so for now, let's go to our game time.
Review time.
All right, everyone, we are back for our review time game of our new vocabulary words from the article today. Let's look at those one more time before we play the game. None, maximum, light, and affect. That's affect, not effect. Affect with an A, and it's the verb form. So, are we going to play a game?
Yeah.
Yes, we are. What game are we going to play? We are going to play the opposites game, or the antonym game. An antonym is, of course, a word that is the opposite of another word. So if I said up, the antonym would be down. If I say yes, the antonym would be no. That kind of idea. Are you ready to play? Mm-hmm. Yes, you are. All right, we will start off very simply, and I will just say dark.
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 Dark. Light.
Yes, there's light is what allows you to see. Dark is no light, so you can't see much. Mm-hmm. All right, let's do another fairly simple one. Minimum. Minimum.
Oh, we talk about maximum.
Maximum is the highest amount. Minimum is the lowest amount. All right. Many or much.
Many or much. 我们今天有讲到一个数量都没有零 zero 都没有，就是 none.
Okay, none.
None 就是没有都没有。
Yes, none is zero or many or much is wow, a lot. And not affect.
Hey, you gave me the answer.
No, I didn't.
Okay, affect.
Affect, yeah. It does not affect me or it affects me. One has an influence or, yes, it changes things. One does not. There you go. Some words just don't have a very simple antonym.
I know, yeah.
And that's just life.
所以还喜欢今天的内容吗？大家记得按赞、订阅、开启小铃铛，就不会错过任何精彩的内容啦。
Bye bye.
Bye bye.